This is the story of Samson. And before we go any further, let me tell you something about this man that most people completely miss. Samson was not just a strong man. He was not just a biblical action hero with supernatural muscles and a weakness for the wrong woman. He was something far more complicated and far more heartbreaking than that. He was a man chosen before he was born, called before he drew his first breath, given a gift so extraordinary that no human being before or since has ever carried anything quite like it. So let's go back to the very beginning. The time is roughly 1100 BC. The place is the land of Canaan, the territory God gave to the Israelites after their 40 years in the desert with Moses. But by this point in the story, Israel has settled into a devastating and repetitive cycle. There is a man named Manoah from the tribe of Dan. His wife, whose name the Bible never actually tells us, is unable to have children. And one day, the angel of the Lord appears to her. Not to her husband, to her. And the angel says something that changes everything. You are barren and childless, but you are going to become pregnant and give birth to a son. Now see to it that you drink no wine or other fermented drink and do not eat anything unclean, because you will conceive and give birth to a son. No razor may be used on his head, because the boy is to be a Nazirite, dedicated to God from the womb, and he will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines. Manoah's wife goes and tells her husband. Manoah prays and asks God to send the angel again to teach them how to raise this child. The angel comes again. Manoah asks his name. The angel says, "Why do you ask my name? It is beyond understanding." And when Manoah offers a sacrifice, the flame from the altar rises toward heaven, and the angel ascends in the flame. And Manoah and his wife fall to the ground in worship. And the woman gives birth to a son, and they name him Samson. And the Bible says the Spirit of the Lord began to stir him. Samson grows up. And the first thing the Bible tells us about him as a young adult is this. He went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. Not he prayed for wisdom. Not he sought God's will. He went down. He saw a woman. And he came back to his parents with a demand. I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. His parents are horrified. Is there no acceptable woman among your relatives or among all our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? She is the right one for me because I want her. On the way to Timnah with his parents, Samson separates from them. And in a vineyard, which is already a sign that he is moving dangerously close to violating his Nazirite vow, a young lion comes roaring toward him. And the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. And he tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as easily, the Bible says, as he might have torn apart a young goat. And he told neither his father nor his mother what he had done. He goes to Timnah, talks to the woman, comes back. Later he returns and goes to see her, and on the way he turns aside to look at the carcass of the lion he killed. And inside it, a swarm of bees and honey. He scoops the honey out with his hands and eats it on the way. He gives some to his parents. He does not tell them where it came from. A Nazirite was not supposed to touch dead bodies. The honey came from inside a dead lion. Samson reached inside and touched the dead animal to eat what came from it. He is already compromising his vow. The wedding feast is held. 30 Philistine companions are assigned to keep Samson company, which tells us they already did not fully trust him. And Samson, always the showman, always looking for a game, poses a riddle. Let me tell you a riddle. If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you cannot, you give me the same. The riddle: out of the eater something to eat, out of the strong something sweet. They cannot solve it. So on the 4th day they go to Samson's wife and tell her, "Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death." Samson's wife weeps before him. She accuses him of not loving her. She asks him the riddle's answer for 7 days of the feast. Samson holds out. On the 7th day, because she pressed him hard and wouldn't stop, he tells her. And she immediately tells the Philistine men. Before sunset they give Samson the answer. Out of the eater came something to eat. Out of the strong came something sweet. Samson's response is immediate and furious. If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He went down to Ashkelon, a Philistine city, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them, and gave their clothes to the men who solved the riddle. And he went back to his father's house, burning with anger. And his wife was given to his companion who had attended him at the feast. Later, when Samson's anger has cooled, he goes back to visit his wife. He brings her a gift. He says he is going to go to her room. Her father stops him at the door. I was so sure you hated her that I gave her to your companion. She has a younger sister who is more beautiful. Take her instead. Samson does not negotiate. He does not discuss it. He says, this time I have a right to get even with the Philistines. I will really harm them. And he goes and catches 300 foxes. He ties them tail to tail in pairs. He fastens a torch to each pair of tails. He lights the torches. He releases the foxes into the Philistine grain fields. 300 foxes running in every direction with fire attached to their tails. The grain fields go up. The vineyards, the olive groves, destroyed. The Philistines find out who did it and why. They go and burn Samson's wife and her father to death. The very thing they threatened at the wedding. Samson finds out. He attacks them viciously. He strikes them hip and thigh, and then he goes and lives in a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines come up and camp in Judah. The men of Judah, Samson's own people, come to him in the cave. 3,000 of them, not to fight alongside him, to hand him over. Do you not realize that the Philistines are rulers over us? What have you done to us? They tie him with 2 new ropes and bring him to the Philistines. And when he comes to a place called Lehi, the Philistines come shouting to meet him. And the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. The ropes on his arms became like charred flax, and the bindings dropped from his hands. He finds the fresh jawbone of a donkey. He picks it up, and with it he kills 1,000 Philistine men. 1,000 men, with a donkey's jawbone. He throws the bone down and says, with a donkey's jawbone I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone I have killed 1,000 men. And then, because he has just killed 1,000 men and is desperately thirsty, Samson cries out to God. This is one of the rare moments in his story where he actually prays. You have given your servant this great victory. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised? And God splits open a hollow place. Water comes out. Samson drinks. His strength returns. He judges Israel for 20 years. And then we arrive at the most famous part of his story. After this, the Bible says, Samson fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek whose name was Delilah. Just like that. No warning. Samson fell in love with Delilah. Now, Delilah may or may not have been a Philistine herself. The Bible does not explicitly say, but what happens next makes her allegiances unmistakably clear. The rulers of the Philistines, 5 of them, go to her, and they say something that is one of the most chilling propositions in the entire Old Testament. 1,100 shekels each. 5 rulers. 5,500 shekels of silver total. This is not a small amount. This is a life-changing fortune. And Delilah agrees. She goes to Samson and she asks him, tell me the secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued. He tells her, if anyone ties me with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I will become as weak as any other man. Delilah ties him while he sleeps. The Philistine men are hidden in the room. She calls out, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. Samson snaps the bowstrings like thread. He lied. The Philistines retreat. And Delilah accuses him, you have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come on. Tell me how you can be tied. He makes up another lie. New ropes never used. She ties him. Same result. He snaps them. She tries again. Weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on the loom. He lets her do it. He wakes up and pulls free. 3 times she has tried. 3 times he has evaded. And 3 times she has not stopped asking. And then comes the verse that is one of the most devastating in the entire book of Judges. With such nagging she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. He was sick to death of it. Not sick to death of her. Sick to death of her asking. He tells her everything. No razor has ever been touched my head because I have been a Nazirite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me and I would become as weak as any other man. When Delilah realized he had told her everything, the Bible says, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines. Come back once more, he has told me everything. They come. They bring the silver. And Delilah puts Samson to sleep on her lap. She calls someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. And she begins to subdue him, and his strength left him. Then she called, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He awoke from his sleep and thought he would shake himself free as before. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. That line, that single line. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. The Philistines seized him. They gouged out his eyes. They took him to Gaza, the very city where he had once walked away with the city gates on his shoulders, and they bound him with bronze shackles. And they set him to grinding grain in the prison. The strongest man who ever lived. Blind, in chains, grinding grain, like the lowest slave. But the Bible adds one quiet line after all of that. But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. Just that, his hair began to grow. The Philistine rulers are celebrating their victory over Samson. They gather in the temple of their god Dagon for a great festival. 3,000 people on the roof alone, watching and mocking. They call for Samson to be brought out of the prison to perform for them. He is led in by a servant. This man who once killed 1,000 soldiers with a jawbone, who once carried city gates on his shoulders, who once tore a lion apart with his bare hands, is now being led through a crowd that is mocking and laughing at him. He is positioned between the 2 central pillars that hold up the temple. The entire structure rests on them. And Samson says to the servant, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple, so that I may lean against them." And then, in the quiet between the mockery and the noise of the crowd, Samson does something he has rarely done throughout his entire story. He prays, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just one more time, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Remember me." And God answers. Samson reached toward the 2 central pillars supporting the temple, bracing himself against them, his right hand on one, his left hand on the other. And he said, "Let me die with the Philistines." Then he pushed. With all his strength he pushed. The pillars gave way. The temple came down on the rulers and all the people in it. And those he killed when he died were more than those he killed during his life. The most productive moment of Samson's entire life, the moment where he finally fully fulfilled his calling to deliver Israel from the Philistines, was the moment he died. So what does the story of Samson mean for us today? The first lesson is about the gap between potential and purpose. Entertainment. It is always for a purpose bigger than us. And when we treat it as a toy, the consequences are real. The second lesson is about the slow compromise. Sam's character is not lost in an explosion. It is lost in a slow erosion. Small decisions, private moments, gradual drift, until the morning you wake up and discover that the Lord has left and you did not even know it. The third lesson is the most hopeful of all. This is the story of Samson, the strongest man who ever lived.